Hi, good afternoon, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. A very warm welcome to T Sarana Buddhist Association Cultivation Program. We are very happy to have Dr. Ng Yuan Yen to conduct the fifth session of a series of 8 Sutta meditations this afternoon. Let me give a brief outline of each session. Dr. Ng will start with the Sutta studies first, and then take some questions about the suttas, then followed by 30 minutes of meditation and more questions, if any, afterwards. So if you have any questions at any time during the talk, please type them in the link that is provided in the Zoom chat and the Facebook comment section. We will ask them for you during the Q&A session. Before we start the session, let us begin the Vasa cultivation by paying homage to the Buddha. Namo
Tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tadiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tadiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tadiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
We now invite Dr. Ng to start the Sutra meditation session. Dr. Ng, please.
Good afternoon. So, if there are no questions, are there any questions from the last session?
No, there are no questions. Maybe we will ask later during the Q&A session.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the Bojjhangas. So this is the part of the 37 factors of enlightenment. So today, since this is the halfway mark, we will revise what we have learned before. So it will culminate to today's session. Now, previously we say that samsara is beginningless. So we have to go out of samsara, because samsara is suffering. We have to be grounded in our three refuges, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And the merits to liberation is to, most important of all, is to take the three refuges, merits, take the three refuges in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and to keep your 5 precepts impeccably. That means don't break it at all. This is the virtue part of the practice. And then we have the Brahma Vihara, loving kindness, and we have then the perception of impermanence. So that is the first sutta meditation, that you be grounded in the three refuges, be grounded in loving kindness, grounded in the perception of impermanence, and of course, grounded in your precepts. Then in the second sutta, we talk about Sati Patthana, right? The 4 foundations of mindfulness on our body, feeling, mind, and Dharma. But we want you to pick up the sign. If you are meditating, you are to be the competent cook. You do not want to be the incompetent cook. And like in the bhikkhuni quarters, we want you to direct your mind to the signs, whereby your mind can be concentrated and you can dwell happily. So it's very important that you know how to pick up the signs of the Dharma. So we emphasize the four foundations: the body, the feeling, the mind, and the Dharma. And we have said before the Dharma. What is the Dharma? So it is anicca, viraga, nirodha, patinisego. It is not enough just to see impermanence. You have to see the whole of the Dharma. And the whole of the Dharma is to see viraga, fading, to see cessation, and to see release. So this is the first part, that you see impermanence for your merits, for liberation. That is only the first. You have to see viraga, fading, in the mental and the physical phenomena. You have to see cessation in the physical and the mental phenomena. And you have to see release. You have to train yourself to see the release. So we say this phenomena can be seen in any physical and mental phenomena, in all conditioned things. Not only impermanence, you can see fading, ending, and release. So this is the emphasis that you got to pick up those signs. Then we have the four spiritual bases, that you have to have the desire for the Dharma, you have to have the energy, and you have to put your mind, and you have to investigate and make an inquiry. So we have talked about Vimamsa, that is Dharma Vichaya also. Then we talk about, later, the fourth lesson is about the five faculties. So the mental faculties is faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So here we want to emphasize concentration. The object of concentration is to see release. Release, this is your object of your concentration. So we've gone through these four lessons. Now we go to the fifth lesson. And the fifth lesson is about the 7 factors of enlightenment. So we go to the first sutta. And the first sutta is the first of the series in the collected discourses, the Himalayas. So the Himalayas, why we want to say the Himalayas is for you to perceive Himalayas. The Himalayas is such a giant, very huge, mountain that people can die scaling to the top of it. So it is this that it says Himalayas is the king of mountains. And this is where the Nagas, so the Nagas, so we all talk about Nagas, right? Especially at the end of the session, we share merits with the Nagas, Devas, Nagas, Mahitika. So these Nagas are the snakes and the dragons. So Nagas are the powerful beings. So they say that the Nagas are from the Himalayas. They then acquire strength for their body, and then they go into the pools, just like little tortoises or little turtles that hatch from the eggs. Then they run quickly to the ocean. So after they acquire strength, the Nagas will go into the pools. Then they grow bigger. They go into the lakes. They grow bigger. They go into the streams, to the rivers, and into the ocean. And into the ocean, they grow and expand into big-sized giant Nagas. So if you Google, you will find that in the depths of the oceans, there are huge animals, sea animals. So it is not unimaginable. So the Nagas acquire the body and strength to then develop, grow and develop, expand to a very huge size. So it is to say that these 7 factors of enlightenment, they are also to grow and expand to very huge, immeasurable quality. And so this Himalayas is why we use the first to let you all know that this is something that we have to cultivate. We have to cultivate because it's wholesome. So this is to emphasize it's a Himalayan effort to put it, to grow these factors of enlightenment, because these are wholesome factors. So Himalayas, this is the first, that it is to grow great and expand greatly. So it is based on, so the Nagas are based on the Himalayas. So they say these 7 factors of enlightenment are based on virtue. Okay, based on virtue, then you can grow. Without virtue, you cannot grow these factors of enlightenment. And what we require? It requires you to have seclusion, dispassion, cessation, maturing in release. So this is what is required. And what are the factors of enlightenment to be cultivated, to be developed so that it grows? The first factor is mindfulness. Factor of enlightenment, mindfulness. The second factor of enlightenment is investigation. The third is energy. The fourth is rapture. The fifth is tranquility. The sixth is concentration. And the seventh is equanimity. These are the 7 factors of enlightenment. That means it will bring you to enlightenment. These 7 factors of enlightenment, you have to have all this virtue, seclusion, dispassion, cessation, maturing in release. You have to be focusing on this. Now, so these 7 factors of enlightenment are not like it's like a big name, but it is something that we have been doing. So do not consider it difficult to achieve. These 37 factors of enlightenment, including these 7 factors of enlightenment, they are just tools for you only. Tools for you to see the Dharma directly. These are tools that you have to use. So you have 37 tools in your toolbox, and you need to use them to reach the goal of enlightenment. The enlightenment is the end of suffering, right? So now we talk about mindfulness. It is something that we have been talking about and practicing. So in these 4 foundations of mindfulness, this is the same. And we want to emphasize this: impermanence, fading or viraga or dispassion, cessation and release. So it is saying that you have to develop dispassion, cessation, and maturing in release. It is repeated time and again. So impermanence, right, you have to see impermanence again and again. And then he says impermanence also in wisdom. What is wisdom? To see arising and ceasing. That is wisdom. So this is, first is the mindfulness. Now, investigation factor of enlightenment. So we have talked about it. And where did we talk about it? We talked in Vimamsa. So what did investigation entails? So to remind, it says investigation, under investigation, you have to see whatever object you are seeing, whether it is wholesome or unwholesome. So wholesome, you mean 100%, okay? This is wholesome. It is unwholesome, that that part of it is out. So it's unwholesome, it's tainted. So you have to develop it 100% wholly. So first, you want to investigate. There are many things in the world you investigate, especially depending on your job. You will evaluate, let's say if you're an engineer, you evaluate the structure of the building. If you are doing a property, you will evaluate the property. You are investigating mundane things. But now we ask you to investigate what? Whether this is wholesome or unwholesome. And wholesome and unwholesome, the Buddha is very clear-cut. It says that precepts, unwholesome if you kill, steal, sexual misconduct, false speech, and alcoholic or addictive intoxicants. So it's very clear. Wholesome or unwholesome, he's very clear about it. Then he will talk about blameless or blameful. So this is slightly more gray area. So in our times of COVID, we will say blameful if you don't wear a mask. Okay, blameless if you have social distancing. So this is blameful or blameless. So you must be very clear in whatever you are doing, blameless or blameful. Then we have the other thing that is, it is superior or inferior. So what do you mean by superior or inferior? Do you have service that is superior or service that is inferior? So in the sense that, are you kind? That the person who serves you is a person kind? Attentive? Are you yourself kind and attentive? Are you giving a superior service? Or are you giving an inferior service? So this is what is superior and inferior. Then he talk about dark and bright. So generally, there's a teaching that says from bright to brighter, the karmic, where you're born in a bright home and you go do things that are brighter. You may have all the conditions, you live in a bright home, but then if you commit crimes, you go darker. So it is bright or dark in that sense, dark or bright. So here you see, it is all about wholesomeness. It's all about what you are doing. Is it wholesome in your body, speech, and mind? So this is the four spiritual bases. The investigation is about the four spiritual bases, and it is to encourage wholesomeness. The volitional basis for wholesomeness is the four spiritual bases. So the investigation is this. Am I doing wholesome or unwholesome? So you can see this Vimamsa here. This is the investigation. And so we have talked about that before. It's just a re-emphasis. And then we talk about energy. So energy, yeah, we have said that energy, the four spiritual bases, what is that power that require for volition? The striving. So we talk about the four spiritual bases and how they are a power. And so we know what we mean when we say energy. 10 to the power of 48, just for one contact. So you can see. And then what is rapture? So they say physical and mental happiness. Okay. So they have conditions for it. Conditions for it are the mindfulness or concentration. So you have rapture conditions, and then this will have its effect on the body. The concentration is to see release. That is, you have to see the rest of it before you see release. Then you will be able to understand that everything is arising and ceasing and releasing. Equanimity. Equanimity is free. So the opposite of equanimity is the lust. So when one is free of lust, one is equanimity because you do not zero in on an object anymore. You are equanimous, you are free, you are liberated. It may be temporary, and in their different stages of equanimity, so it may be just a temporary equanimity. But eventually, the Aryan, when he completed, he doesn't, he is equanimous, and even this equanimity is under the feeling section. We have said in that feeling section under the sixth sense basis, under the faculty of feelings, that equanimity also ceases in the cessation of feeling and perception. So it is to say that we are not unfamiliar with the factors of enlightenment. We are just sort of get very excited by the word bojjhanga. It's such a huge word, right? But we can cultivate, we can develop and grow it fully. It's possible. It's just, if you say it's possible, then it will be possible. So when there is a will for striving, then there will be a goal, and the goal is Nibbana. So we have to dare. And what is dare? Dare is diligence. D for diligence. Okay? And then A is for ardency. R is to be resolute. E is for enlightenment. You have to be diligent. You have to have ardency. You have to resolute in your goal to enlightenment. So for this, you have to be a Dharma warrior. You have to be a Dharma warrior to win. And if you want to be winning the goal, you have to dare. You have to dare to do it. So the challenge is to dare yourself to do it. And it is, you have to have enough faith and confidence that you can do it. Because the Buddha did it and the Sangha did it, so you can do it too. So all you require to do is this. So now we have talked about the Himalayas, we talk about the nutrients. How to nourish it. How do we nourish things that we know already? And when we want to nourish, we want it to grow big and chubby and expansive. Expanse, not the E, but the A. So he says, how to nourish. When you want to nourish something, you have to give careful attention and sustain or increase frequency. You want to nourish these factors, you have to nourish the factor of mindfulness. You have to do it. You have to be mindful moment by moment. And of course, they will say unremitting, that you know where your mind is at every moment, you know where it is. So the word knowing, okay? And then you investigate. So you have to have careful attention. All that require for it to grow is to have careful attention and frequency. So this is important, careful attention and frequency. And so why is it that we have to have careful attention? Because otherwise it will be careless attention. Now we know what are mind objects. So the mind objects are, say before, mind objects. They are the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates of clinging, the 6 sense base, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the 4 noble truths. So these are mind objects. So these mind objects, the hindrances, what are they? They are lust, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and you have doubt. So these 5 aggregates of clinging: body, either you're clinging to your body, feeling, or your perception, mental formation, or consciousness. 6 sense base, no need to elaborate. So what happens to mind objects? If you pay attention to a mind object, then these mind objects, you pay attention, careless attention. What is careless attention? Careless attention means your mind landed on an unwholesome object. And what is an unwholesome object? The unwholesome object is lust. You agree, no? Okay. Lust, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry and doubt. So when your mind lands on the mind object of the hindrances, it will grow. It is the same. So this is careless attention. So you must know what is careful attention and what is careless attention. Careless attention means your mind has landed on the hindrances or the aggregates of clinging. And you allow it to grow. You did not apply the 4 spiritual bases of non-arising of unarisen unwholesomeness, abandoning the arisen unwholesomeness, maintaining, arising of wholesomeness. Sixth sense base is wholesomeness, seven factors of enlightenment is wholesomeness. So you focus on the wholesomeness and then you maintain. So this is if you can give careful attention. So the nutrients is to feed it carefully. Feed it carefully with wholesome things. So you want this to grow big, you have to feed it with wholesome attention. So your attention is on wholesome thing. So careful attention means attention to the wholesome thing. Then this wholesome thing can grow. If you give attention to these hindrances, you'll be addicted to sex or alcohol or drugs, and your attention is all the time on it, then the desire will just grow. So you do not want to have your mind arising of unwholesome at all. So this, you can see it for what it is, and that this is tainted. You don't want to be tainted, then you abandon it. Either you abandon it again and again, or enough. You do not want to touch it at all. So it's up to yourself to then abandon the hindrances and the five aggregates of clinging. If you pay attention to this, then it is called careless attention. Once you touch it, you descend into it. So they say consciousness descend into it. So you do not want to have this arising at all. So the nutrients is just careful attention to the seven factors of enlightenment. Increased frequency, and you do not pay attention at all to the unwholesome. If you pay attention to the unwholesome, then the Buddha considered this as careless attention. So we do not want to do that. We do not want to have careless attention. So to emphasize what is the characteristic of the developed factors of enlightenment, then we talk about clothes. So clothes, so in the Venerable Sariputta says that he can dwell in any of these factors of enlightenment, in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, as if he was choosing his clothes to wear, as if he has a wardrobe, 7 sets of clothes. And like a royal minister, he says, oh, morning I want to have this. Or maybe a wedding, you have 7, do they change 7 times? I'm not too certain. So, okay, I'm going to appear in this set. Then you clothe yourself in this set. So, what you mean by this? So that means your mind is roped. Your mind is roped in mindfulness, roped in equanimity, or any of these 7 factors of enlightenment. And he says that it can be perfected and it is measureless. The mind is measureless, right? It's immeasurable. There's no boundary. So this is what he described, that if you perfect it, you can dwell in it and you can choose which one to pick up on. So this is the nature, if it's well developed. It can be developed fully. And fully, he says, it is immeasurable. So we know Sariputta is capable of this. You also heard of, I don't know what state of mind he was dwelling in, but when he say this, you can think of the sutta whereby 2 yakas were flying through the air. and one yaka saw the bald-headed head of Sariputta. Then he says, hey, I want to hit that botak, I want to hit that shaveling. Then the other one said, hey, don't do that. That one is a high monk. Don't do that. Then the other one said, I want to hit. So he has careless attention. Then he really hit. He really hit the Sariputta's head. And then Moggallana, with his psychic powers, saw the yaka hitting the head. So he spoke to his good friend Sariputta. Hey, how are you feeling? I just seen a yaka, who hit your head, and that power that he has can split a mountain, How are you feeling? Then Sariputta said, I just have a little pain only, a little headache only. Then Sariputta says, my goodness, you can see yakas. I can't even see a mud skipper. Singing praises of each other, that your mind is so strong and powerful that the yaka cannot damage it at all. That is so powerful, that is so robed and clothed in that type of immeasurable power. I don't know what he was in, but you can imagine that it is so powerful that the yaka cannot break through. He only sees the body only. He didn't see the power behind it. So whereas Sariputta says, I can't see any, even with all that power, he said he don't have the psychic powers to see a yaka. But so here there are these two chief disciples of the Buddha praising each other. So you can see that Sariputta, how the Buddha would actually praise Sariputta as having wide wisdom, great wisdom, deep wisdom, penetrative wisdom. So this is how you see he has developed his mind. And of course, you have Anupada Sutta, which tells us how he did it step by step within 2 weeks of hearing the first sentence that everything arises will cease. And within 2 weeks, he realized enlightenment. So this is to say that this is a very powerful, I'm not saying that he's in that 7 factors enlightened state, but I'm saying that it is so powerful that he has developed the mind. And it also says that it's very powerful in that sense that the Buddha will chant or remind Mahamoggallana and Mahakassapa when they were sick and gravely sick. That means it's almost like the end like that. But he will go to them and he will chant. So it's like a guided meditation. So when he chants, they go through that mind states. And when they go through that mind states, these are mind. So then they develop, and once they develop, these are the 7 factors of enlightenment, and they recovered. So imagine the mind and body is sick. So we can see the mind and body. So the body is affected by the mind. And so when you develop the mind, the body also healed up. Because they just go through the calming effects, the concentration, the equanimity effects. So whatever it is, they develop fully and they recovered. And likewise for the Buddha, when he was sick, he will ask Mahachunda. Mahachunda is the brother of Venerable Sariputta. He will ask, come, recite to me the Bojjhangas. Then when somebody recite, then he just go into those states, and then he recovered also. So in the Bojjhangas, they say that you chant the Bojjhangas, but you must know what are the Bojjhangas. You go into the state of the Bojjhangas, then you can recover. Of course, you can do it out of faith also, that you listen to the chanting, you absorb in it. But how they recover is that they go through, the mind goes through these states. the 7 factors of enlightenment states. So you say this have been mentioned before. So it is doable. It is not something unreachable. They are doable. So how to practice it? So must you go through the, and then how do we have careful attention? So careful attention, our careful attention is now on the breath. Okay, so careful attention means that whatever it is, I'm not going to look at any other thing but just the breathing only. This is what the careful attention is. Then when you are having the focus on the breathing or the breath, there will be other things that arises. You just see them like you are driving a car, okay, or you're cycling, you're going on a journey. So you are focusing on the road. You're focusing on the road and you're just driving, or you are walking and you're taking MRT or buses. You know where you're supposed to stop. But then you have a destination to go. Then there are signs on the road which will tell you that you are reaching the destination. So you must keep your eye on the road. Whether you are a passenger or a driver, you know that you have that destination to go. Then there are these signs. So there are these signs that you look out for. You are aware of them. You don't blur, just go there. Blur, just reach there. But you know these are the signs, then you become more aware. So this is to say, you must be the competent cook. You must be able to look out for the signs. So it is very important if you say careful attention, so your starting point can be just very careful attention on the breathing, on just the breathing, that you will not be distracted. Your mind is secluded. Your focus is on breathing. You are not distracted by the other 5 sense spaces or the objects. When you're distracted, you just go back to your breathing. Then you will see, as you see, you just do it for some time. You will know at the end of it, where am I? You can know that you are at the equanimity, or your mind is liberated. But you can gradually, slowly, the journey can be slow and steady, or you can try it out how you like it. You can just on the breath, or you can be on the breath. So this is individual, but you must have careful attention, right? So this Anapanasati is the method that the Buddha achieved to enlightenment. So what more, we will also, as students and disciples of the Buddha, we should also do this practice on just the breathing in and breathing out. Because this leads him to the knowledge, true knowledge and liberation. So all these are just tools for the end. So these 7 factors of enlightenment, these are part of the Noble Eightfold Path, part of it. The mindfulness, the concentration, the effort. So you know the virtues, the meditation, effort, mindfulness, concentration, all this is part of the Noble Eightfold Path. The path itself only, the end of it is the knowledge and the liberation. So this is just the path. They're using all these tools along the way. Okay, and then I think last week, I think there was some people who do not, also practitioners, also participants, do not know what to do after an instruction is given. You just follow the preceding instruction and repeat it in your mind, or you just stay quiet If you don't do nothing, just feel what is doing nothing. So, but you don't have a state of perplexity. You should be steady in whatever you are doing. So I think generally, if you in guided meditation, you will do the previous instruction. If let's say you have like sort of done it and thought you have seen it, but there's still there hasn't another instruction given yet. You just repeat what has been said before. Okay. Any questions? So you all today, these 7 factors of enlightenment, any questions for these 7 factors?
So the 7 factors of enlightenment.
Dr. Ng, may I ask you the 7 factors of enlightenment? Is all these 7 factors are actually 2, or you must go in sequence, mindfulness first, then investigation, energy, rapture, transformation?
Oh, this one is also dependent origination because one leads to the other.
So you start from mindfulness.
You must
then,
start from the mindfulness first.
Okay.
Mindful of a certain object like
Yes.
the body or the breathing.
Okay.
Or, you know, or some people will go to a 3 refuges and then get concentration faster. So they know where they are. Okay. So you have to start on this first.
Mindfulness.
It's like having to first crawl or turn first, then you crawl, then you stand. Then you know how to pick things out of the drawer. But now you have to like develop. How to develop? You develop by this way first. Until you are very good at this, then you can juggle. But so it's just to say the Sariputta one is his capabilities. It's just that it can be done in this way. It's all about perception and it's all about science. Science in the sense that, let's say if you have perceived something before, it's easy for you to conjure it up. It's very easy for you to say, hey, I got that already. Hey, I passed by this sign. I see it already. What you mean? So we are bodies and perception. So like now I said, durian, or then the durian will come up to you. Then you say, then can you smell it? Or some people can, you know. So it depends on your favorite food. Singaporeans about food, right?
Yes.
So you want to think of something, it comes out. Then you have this happy feeling. We're talking about favorite food. So this like come up. This feeling like it's like joyous comes out. Uplifting comes out. So this is the perception. So if you have a repeated contact with the favorite food, if you have repeated contact, some people go to tranquility. So they and then they're very quiet. So they know how to get into that tranquil state. So when they go into a tranquil state, they also can get into concentration pretty fast. So it's just perception. It's just perception. So he uses the perception. And when he uses that perception, it's a mind object. Then he lets it develop and grow and grow and grow. So it's very tranquil, more tranquil, more tranquil. So this is how you can develop it. But when you first start, you must do the preliminary practices. You have to do these preliminary practices to overcome the hindrances. But you may be fighting with the hindrances. Some people know that these hindrances, for example, this also have to be careful attention. So if a person has sloth and torpor, then the Buddha says, do not concentrate on these 3 things: tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. You have sloth and torpor, more tranquil, more tranquil. That, no? So you see, this one is, he will say it very clearly. Then if you have restlessness and worry, you don't go to the investigation, energy, and rapture. You'll be like, very, very manic like that, very hyperactive. He asks you to then focus on tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. So then he says, you use which factor to practice depending on which hindrance you are having. Then of course doubt, he says, you have doubt, then you must be mamsa. You must investigate to clear your doubts. So this is the way to do it. But you have to familiarize with it. Familiarize with mindfulness. Once you have mindfulness, when you are detached, looking at something, and each of them have a quality. So this mindfulness factor of enlightenment is the same thing as mindfulness as a mind object. Now, tranquility has a characteristic, it's very calming. So if let's say you have a mind like that, so when you have a tranquility factor or mind object, it calms down. It calms down. So if the mind like that, it calms down. It calms down. And then when it is a mindfulness factor, mindfulness. You understand what I mean? This is the mind. Then is the mind object, mindfulness. So investigate, you investigate. So they have different qualities. Concentration is very serenity and what did he say? Non-dispersal. So it's very serene. So when you have a concentration, when you're too tense, then you're not serene already. You know, some people use concentration as use a lot of energy. Then there is no serenity because it must be balanced. So the concentration is very serene, very happy. Then you have non-dispersal. Then it is just one-pointedness, and then you just enter into unification of the mind. Unification of the mind on one object, and the object is release. So that's why he says object of release. So it's one-pointedness. Now our five sense spaces are very gross, right? Whatever it is, there's a BMI to our five sense spaces, right? To make this body, there's a BMI. And BMI can be quite gross. But the mind is immeasurable. The mind, so to be one-pointed, to be united with the mind, because the mind is a happy mind, empty mind. So this is the concentration, how one would just focus on the mind because it leads you to happiness. And then of course, even after that, you let go of this state because all these states are impermanent. So it leads you from the unpleasant, the hindrances and the aggregates of clinging is unpleasant to the pleasant. Then even the pleasant, he asks you to abandon. But then then whether you learn the lesson of impermanence or not. If you think it's very pleasant, then you hang on to it. Then have not learned the lesson that all pleasant things are also impermanent. That only the end of craving, destruction of craving is the nibbana. So this has to be kept in mind so that one will not be seduced, but seduced by all this pleasantness or, So you have to be very careful because Mara is just behind you. Or even after you're in, they can't disturb you. And disturb you to the sixth sense basis because Mara can put an object. Mara is able to make a mind object and introduce it into your mind. But you must know mind objects and mind base is separate. Just like sound object and ear base, ear object and ear base is separate. Mind object and mind base is separate. So, but the Mara can introduce mind objects, like he can introduce an idea to the villagers not to offer dana to the Buddha. He can introduce it. So you have to see mind objects as impersonal. And it is unwholesome, you can blame Mara. This is Mara's doing. Sometimes it's your own, but you just say, oh, this is Mara. I don't want to be involved with Mara. So you have to practice it again and again because Mara tempts you. Come, Okay.
Thank you.
Any question?
a question, but I don't know whether it's taking up too much time if I ask. I just want to know the transition between tranquility to concentration.
Oh,
Because I don't know, because it's both are very calm states.
so the thing here is this, your mind must be very alert. Because the tranquility, so the tranquility will give rise to happiness. Is actually tranquil state. Then you notice that when the tranquil state, we all have this cause and effect. Like I said, it's a bouncing ball. So the bouncing ball, the consciousness is moving inside you. So you tranquilize, it will bounce up. So your joy will come up. When joy comes up, it rises to the mind. When it rises to the mind, it's easy to concentrate because the happy mind, you are aware of the happy mind already. So there is a stage, although they say 7 factors of enlightenment, there is a joy stage. Between tranquility, there is a joy. The movement of the joy, you can see it. So the tranquility, you just calm. You must be able to see the dispersal of tranquility. The dispersal of tranquility is joy. But it's because you are entrenched or enthralled by the tranquility that you may miss the sign of joy and then to concentration. So it's very closely linked. So all you have to do is to stay on the bus, stay on the car. Just go straight. So the Sangha is what? Sujo. This is a good practice. Good, and straight. You just go straight. Just do it. They do it. Be alert. When another sign come up, oh, that's the sign. Then you just go and force it. Careful attention. Then the other sign of equanimity will come up. Once the concentration full, then the equanimity will come out. Then you develop it fully. Okay.
Dr. Ng, we have a question from a sister who will ask the question online. Ask the question, yeah. Sister
Zoom,
Eileen?
we're waiting for the Zoom. You can
Yeah, you can
unface
unmute.
yourself.
Yeah.
Unmute or what? Video, huh?
Show the video.
Show the video. You can show the video.
Sister Eileen, you want to ask the question? Okay. Never mind, it's okay. Maybe we'll
Sorry,
wait.
can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, can.
Okay.
We can hear
Sorry
you.
about that. A bit of a technical issue. Dr. Ng, go back to the earlier about these 7 factors of enlightenment that you explained to Sister Kelly's question earlier. Well, I understand you said that the 7 factors may be interlinked, right? Like dependent originations, but it may still be triggered by, for example, the 5 hindrances, right? Although we said it started with mindfulness, but let's say we have faced one of the hindrances. When there are doubt, we may switch to investigations, right? Because it will trigger, it will trigger us to go investigate. But although I understand the mindfulness is like a motherhood that govern everything, when we had the mindfulness, we kind of like settle our mind into looking things into more clearly. But we may go into investigation because we have doubt, therefore we go into investigations, right?
Yes. This is good. Then you have gone into investigation. So
Right.
mindfulness is just paying attention.
Right.
But where you do investigation, then you investigate if you have doubt. So then you clear your doubt and then you move on.
Yeah, but my second question is, I think 3 weeks ago we talked about these 5 faculties, right? We talked about faith, energy, the concentration, mindfulness, and wisdom, right? Then how do we relate back to these 7 factors of enlightenment? Because energy came later, and then the concentration came later. Where from there we talk about we first have the faith, which gave us energy and gave us the mindfulness and concentration, then we develop wisdom. How do we relate this back to the 7 factors of enlightenment? Thank you, Dr.
Okay. Actually, when you are doing the practice, everything is in this and your concentration are all in.
It's okay.
It's now okay, dear.
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. Dr. Ng, there are two more questions online.
So is it okay for that lady?
For Dr. Sorry, for Sister Eileen, you're okay, huh? Yeah. Okay, there are two more questions. Maybe we would like to take these questions because I may be related. How do we make Bojjhanga Sutra effective if the receiving party may not have faith or know that we are chanting the sutra for his or her recovery?
How to, so it says that in the suttas, in the Bojjhanga Sutta, the Buddha said that by chanting the Bojjhanga Sutta, Moggallana and Mahakassapa recovered. He himself also recovered. It means that these people have practiced already. They are enlightened. They know what these 7 factors of enlightenment are. So by knowing what they are, and then you have to go through the process of the development and fully develop it. No, they fully develop it again, so they recover. So the recipient must have, to have full recovery, the recipient most likely have to have their 7 factors of enlightenment fully developed. That this is that means it's something very easy. No, it's something very easy for them to do. So that they just, so the perception of it just, when you say that, they all know what to do already. So then they will recover, because they have different effects. So for somebody who has very very faith-based, and say that by chanting this, you will recover, so that faith becomes a power. So then, listening to this and being inspired by the Bojjhanga Suttas, the person recover. So your duty is just to chant it. No need to think whether that person will recover or not. You just hope that the person will recover, and you have full faith also when you do things. Don't do it with the agenda, and then you say maybe he will not recover. Just do it, and then the person recover. It's not your business. Okay.
Yes. How to recognize
Versa. You can see it very, very well in the physical form, then you see it very well in your mental form. So, for example, when you say exercise, okay, when you exercise, when you stretch, okay, stretch, whatever you stretch. So you stretch, so when you stretch, then you come to the end of your stretch, right? Then you feel good, right? All the exercises, hold it for 10 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10. Then you stop. Then you feel the release. The release, how you feel, how you feel, just go on to the next stretch. This to see it repeatedly. And the end of your stretch, you hold, right? You hold for whatever seconds, 10 seconds, then you finish, right? Then you must feel the release in you. You can hold it and you can feel the release, or you put your arms down or put whatever, but you must be able to feel the release in yourself. Why exercise is good? Because there's so much bouncing inside the consciousness, bouncing. So bouncing already, why you feel very good, but you don't know why, you just feel good only. But if you just do one stretch, one good stretch, and you feel that release, then you would understand already that physical phenomena has an end. And when you exert at the end, even this simple going up and coming down, then we drop down, you can feel it going up. You can feel there is a bouncing ball effect, right? There is this bouncing ball, so it bounce, so it bounce up. So you can feel the release. Then you can then do it.
Hello, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. We will now take a 10 minutes break. We apologize for the technical issues that we're currently encountering. So we will reconvene, resume the session in about 10 minutes time. Sorry and thank you.
Hi, brothers and sisters. Very sorry for the technical difficulties just now. If there are some of the questions that you didn't hear the answer, can you please ask the questions again later after the meditation? Yeah. So meanwhile, we will start. We will start the guided meditation by Dr. Ng.
Okay. So you mm, put yourself together. Pull your legs. Sit on the chair. Put your back erect. Breathe in and out. Put mindfulness in front of you. We shall do Anapanasati. And you pick up the signs along that we have talked about. Breathing long. You know you are breathing in long. Breathing out long. You know you are breathing out long. Breathing in short. You know you're breathing in short. Breathing out short. You know you're breathing out short. Breathing in, experiencing the entire breathing in process. Breathing out, you experience the entire breathing out process. Step 4, breathing in, calm the bodily formation or calm the breathing. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, calm. Step 5, breathing in, experience the rapture or the pleasant bodily sensation. Can be felt as tingling or rippling. Breathing out, experience the rapture. Breathing in, experience the pleasure. Breathing out, experience the pleasure. Breathing in, experience the mental formations or whatever sensations you felt. Breathing out, experience the mental formations or whatever sensations you feel. The eighth step under mindfulness of feelings, breathing in, calm the mental formations. Breathing out, calm the mental formations. Foundation of the mind, the ninth step. Breathing in, experience the mind. Breathing out, experience the mind. Step 10, breathing in, gladden the mind. Breathing out, gladden the mind. Step 11, breathing in, concentrate the mind. Breathing out, concentrate the mind. Breathing in, liberate the mind. Breathing out, liberate the mind. You can either contemplate on the breath or the breathing, this rising, falling, cessation, and release. Or feelings, mind, or mind objects. Follow it to the end and then see its release. Whatever you're looking at. Now we will try to see the mindfulness mind object. So you tell yourself, what is the mindfulness mind object? What is the characteristic of mindfulness? May I see the object of mindfulness in the mind? See how it's developed and how it fills up the mind. See its signature, see its characteristic. Let it go where it likes. It will just fill up the mind. Now you can ask, what is the investigation factor of enlightenment? So its characteristic or its signature is quite different from the mindfulness factor of enlightenment. And what is the energy factor of enlightenment? The mind is a smart mind. You ask, it will say, it will show. And what is the factor of rapture? And the factor of tranquility, you ask, the mind will show you. And what's the factor of concentration? And then the factor of equanimity. So we come to the end of the session on the Bhujangas. So you ground yourself, feel the seat, feel your entire body. Before you take time, slowly open your eyes. So they say Anapanasati fulfills the 7 factors of enlightenment. The 7 factors of enlightenment fulfills true knowledge and liberation. So you see the 7 factors of enlightenment as mind objects that can be developed fully with careful attention. So these 7 factors of enlightenment, after you finish with the Anapanasati, you have developed some of the factors, but in the 7 factors of enlightenment part is to see each characteristic of each mind object or each factor, the characteristics of each factor. What is it like as a mind object? Just like sloth and torpor will have like sleepiness, sort of a drug sort of state, but the mindfulness have another characteristic. So each of these factors of enlightenment has a characteristic as a mind object by itself. So now you see the tool itself, rather than looking at what this tool does, but now what it is itself. So this is what it means by the 7 factors of enlightenment can be developed and cultivated. Is it clear? Or is it a different experience as mind objects? Okay, any question from the floor?
Yeah, brothers and sisters, any questions?
Any question?
Dr. Ng, I'm not very sure the difference between mind states and mind objects, because I think that mindfulness, to me, it seems like it's a state where you are very alert.
Yes.
And when it comes to investigation, you're also looking, but it's a bit deeper, as in you are questioning. I don't know whether I'm doing it the right way.
So which of the mind objects do you find that you can see as a mind object? Which one of it? Which of it?
Maybe mindfulness. I'm not very sure whether I'm seeing it correctly, and I'm not very sure.
So when you ask, you must not doubt. What is it? So if there's a doubt, it's a hindrance already. So we say that your mind now has perceived, you have practiced all this, you practice Anapanasati, and in the course of practicing Anapanasati, you then will be able to see the factors of enlightenment as mind objects, because factors of enlightenment, like all the others, are mind objects. So it requires you to have frequent practice of Anapanasati, and then so that when you do it, you can, and you need to have, in Anapanasati it says you need to have unremitting mindfulness. That means you are unremitting, that means there's no distractions at all. Then you can appreciate the factors of enlightenment. So these factors of enlightenment is like you are saying, it's a characteristic that you see it as itself. So, for example, it's like you see this characteristic as a mind object. So this mind object then will fills up the mind. So it's fully developed. It will develop by itself because you have do mindfulness before. So mindfulness is just like this. For example, it's just like you are keeping mindfulness on the body. So your body may be the breath or your posture, but the nature of the mindfulness is, you're paying attention to an object, to the body or to the feelings. Then when you see the feelings, so sometimes the feelings are moving. So your mindfulness, you're following the feelings. So you are mindful, and then you're mindful of your mind, and then you're mindful of mind objects. So then the characteristic of the mindfulness comes that you see detached. It places attention. So there's a different way. So maybe tranquility may be easier because people like tranquility. Then when you say mind object of tranquility, you can see it as like calming. So you see the mind object as calming. So you see calming. So you see that mind object, so that characteristic of what it does to your mind, that mind object of doing onto your mind. So this is the mind object. This mind object does something to the mind state. So this mind object, tranquility, just calm. So it has a calming effect. So this is the mind object. The mind object so the factor of tranquility, so long, this tranquility, but then you say calm. So when you say calm, it calms. So the mind object of that calming, you can see it. So it's calm. So you calm down your whole mind. So you see that as a mind object, calming. So it may be easier to see, but you look at, if you do your mindfulness continuously, then at the end of it, then you ask, what is this mind object of mindfulness? Then it may appear to you how it appears. So whereas concentration, non-dispersal, and serenity, it has to come with serenity. It has to come with tranquility. After the tranquility, then there is the joy, and then there is a concentration. Then there is the non-dispersal. How it goes in, there's another, but this is what it is the characteristic of the concentration. So it is a mind object that you see.
Does it mean that for this particular this practice, right? Actually, I'm just using, like, you tell me what, then I look for it. But that means I try and bring it up in my mind, my memory of it, is the kind of my perception of it, to explore it.
For which one?
For the 7, but sometimes I cannot bring up anything. So I don't know, it's not like a natural progression as in tranquility because when you talk about tranquility, I understand what you mean. It has this feeling of calm.
Yes.
Then when it goes to, when after that you say concentration, it's not that it naturally went into concentration.
Yes.
It's just that because you told me concentration, so I did not go through the process of letting it become concentration. I just think of concentration.
Yes.
And I understand that concentration is
So how did
not just like that, it goes like that. It goes like,
Yes.
it goes like there's a
non-dispersal,
point,
yes.
but it's also quite expensive. I think equanimity goes down. And equanimity is open.
Which one?
Equanimity.
Yes.
It's not like a progression, like I tell you. When you say equanimity, then it sense that there's a difference in the quality.
Yeah.
Equanimity is more open than concentration. That's my perception of it.
This is
Only my
what it's supposed to be, right? Because concentration, equanimity. So the Buddha says in the Nimitta Sutta that you actually do 3 things if you want to develop the mind. He says first, like go like that. First, you blow on it. Then after that, you sprinkle water on it. Then after, you just look at it. So he says, blow on it, blow on it. And then this is concentration. You blow, you must see what you're blowing at, ma. You blow, 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 so it's concentration. Then you sprinkle water is energy. And then you just look at it as equanimity. So he says when you practice, you must have concentration, you must have energy, and you must have equanimity. And he says these three states, you must practice it in order to be agile. If you concentrate so much, then you might not be so agile. So you concentrate, you apply energy, then there is equanimity. So you are doing concentration, equanimity. So usually concentration, it opens up to equanimity. So you see it as different characteristics. So you know what mode to call up. So of course I would have to direct, right? Because this is a guided thing. So there's a guide that directs. You yourself at home, do the whole thing. That means you go, you have a mindfulness of an object, and you go through each step by itself until you are full, until you are shocked. Okay, this is what they say. By starting with mindfulness, I can progress to equanimity as I see it. Then when you have seen it all already, then when you do the 7 factors, then it says, I would like to see what is this mindful, because you have never seen it before, what is this mindfulness factor of enlightenment? Then it will show you, because that's the perception, you must have it in a memory, you have done it before. So tranquility, you have done it before. You know the tranquility, you know what is it. So I'm using tranquility as a factor, because you see how it affects. So like all the hindrances are mind objects that can affect the mind state. So the Buddha will say last is like a dye. So the mind state is dyed up. And then when it's ill will, he says the mind is like boiling. It's agitated. The mind is boiling. Then when he says that sloth and torpor, he's like in prison. So much algae. So it's just that type of mode of the object of the mind is just oppressing. And you cannot come out of it. It's oppressing. You are in prison. It says you are in prison. Then when you say when you have the mind object of restlessness, you are like this blowing wind, like a slave having to do this thing, do that thing, do this thing. So you can see this mind object of restlessness. Then you can see doubt. He says doubt is like mud like that. You're not certain. It's so muddy. And then he says like a man lost in the desert. Don't know which direction to turn. So there is this doubt. So the mind will, this good or that good, this good or that good. So the mind just ting tong, ting tong, ting tong. So the mind state, you recognize it like that. You recognize it as a mind object. When you shift, and not steady, you see that as the mind object of the hindrance. So each one will have a characteristic. Likewise, for the mindfulness, it has a characteristic. When it has a characteristic, that's how it has this. What does the mindfulness does to the mind? So you can always check when you are mindful of your body, of your posture, your whole mind is on it. So it clears up. It doesn't go anywhere, but you see your posture, see your movement, see your activities. The mind is clear. It's not distracted. So you can see the nature of the mind object. What mindfulness as a factor does to your mind state, and what does investigation does to your mind states. So it looks, it sweeps. So you see, blameless or blameful, blameless or blameful. It assesses, it discerns. So it has a nature. You see it for yourself. So nobody will tell you what that kind of mode or mind object, the characteristics. You don't need you will know because, you see how your mind moving. I'm in this state. Because you're familiar. So then you know you're investigating. You know it's rapture. You know it's tranquility. You know that there's an origin for the rapture, the origin for the tranquility. When you say calm, it's the voice of another calming you down. So when you say calm, you must say calm to yourself. So you can calm down yourself. So when you can calm down yourself, you can calm down another. Because that calm has a truth in it, has a consciousness in it. When you say calm down, it has a power so that you can calm another. So this is how it acts on yourself and on other. So this is called serenity. So you have to practicing it to see the whole of the features. Then when you are doing it frequently, then you can call it up as a mind object. What is characteristic? You see it for yourself so that you can bring it up as a mind object. Because you are familiar with it. If you don't go for training, then you're not familiar. You don't know what is it. What is it? So you ask me, what is it? Because you are not familiar with it. So you have to be familiar. Then you will see it. You will be able to know which tool to use for this problem. You can pick it up. Whereas if you don't know, then how to pick up what tool? You must be able to pick up the sign, direct your mind. So this is what he says frequently to us. Pick up the sign. So you have to pick up all these signs. So you have to practice. You don't expect this, but it's just a flavor. Today's session is a flavor only. You have to do the practice yourself.
Dr. Ng, there are two questions online. The first one is how to see the 7 factors in our mind. Is it one by one to observe?
Okay. Okay, how to see the 7 factors in our mind. So just now, what I say to the student just now is that you have to practice on your own. So unless you see you practice on your own and you're very familiar and your starting point is mindfulness. So the 4 foundation of mindfulness is a starting point. If you focus on the mindfulness of the body or the feeling or the mind objects, you would develop these features because you are investigating. You are looking, and then when you are investigating, you are very mindful. You will develop rapture and pleasure and tranquility. And then you see, he asks you to calm yourself. So Buddha's instruction, calm the body, calm the mind. So if very naturally you go to your mind, and then when your mind is calm of the bodily and the mental formations, you see the mind for itself. So you see a mind for itself, you just look at the mind itself, it's happy by itself. When you're happy, if you don't do anything, the next step will come up by itself. So all these 1, 2, 3, 4, all the steps is like dependent origination. One will lead to the other. If you just focus, just experiencing the mind, it is happy. But then for some people, they are in a hurry. They say, gladden the mind. Then press the app, then gladden already. Then you can concentrate. The joy comes up. You can concentrate. And then you can liberate. So these 7 factors require you to do it starting with mindfulness. So the mindfulness is the first factor of happiness. You can say that first factor, when you are doing it, you will be happy. You won't be so agitated. You are mindful, you know what you are doing, and that you are doing something wholesome. So all these factors are wholesome factors. So you have to do your 4 spiritual factors. I will not allow hindrances to come out. No arising of hindrances. I will just develop the factors of enlightenment. Just develop, maintain, non-decay, increase, expand, fulfill. You will know whether it's fulfilled because it's like you're pouring water into a cup. You know whether it's fulfilled. And then it will it's immeasurable. So this is the immeasurable, is there's no boundary. The mind itself has no boundaries. So the mind is open. So
Yes.
hard to practice that.
No, I think there's two more questions. This one is, if it's equanimity, can we say whatever we see, we stay unaffected, that is neutral, by whatever sights we see or feel? Is this right?
Yes, equanimity in a sense of in contact with whatever. So that equanimity is that sort of Zen state of mind. So equanimity can come about by having that type of unaffected, detached stance where you are not affected by what you see, hear, taste, smell, touch, or whatever that appears in the mind. So in that state, there is equanimous. So the equanimity can arise from different origin. The origin of equanimity has a basis, and that basis can be even Brahma Vihara. We have Upekkha. So you practice the Brahma Vihara, then equanimity is one of the practice. All the jhanas. The jhanas, the third and the fourth jhanas, equanimous. So the mindfulness itself also will have equanimity. So there's an origin to the equanimity. The practice of equanimity is that it is not indifference. It is that you see it as the nature of things, that you can accept that this is the things that is suffering. Birth, aging, disease, death, sadness, agitation, depression, despair is part of the suffering in life because of our attachment and because of our craving. So I think it's okay, then we go to next question.
Yeah, there's a last question online is
Feeling hard to
to practice, had thought of relinquishing lay life and practice at monastery. Any suggestion for a good place in Singapore to do so?
Anywhere is a good place. Okay, so you can, the grass is always greener on the other side. Now, as a lay person, you think the monk's life or the Sangha life is easy. When you're in the Sangha life, you think the lay life is easy. So you have to work your mind. You have to work your mind with Dharma and discipline. Then you are practicing. You have to be secluded. Then you are practicing. The thing is important. I'm not deterring you by saying that the monks tell you a monastery. How to tell you a monastery? So the best place is to be where you go inwards to check yourself. So this doesn't require, it is like outside. You need to go inside. So the practice is always it is not about ropes or yourself. It's in your own mind. So you have to rope. So they say rope. Rope, like the Sariputta said, you have to cloth. So you have to cloth your mind. You have to rope your mind in Dharma and discipline. That's all that's required. It's all mental. It's not. So you might go to the forest, but if you are indulging in the sense objects, then the Buddha said you are with a partner. So if you are indulging in your mind with sense pleasures, thinking of this and that, or of your home life, or whatever, then the Buddha says, this is not seclusion. You might be physically secluded, but your mind is not. So the requirement for seclusion is not physically, it's the mentally you are required to be secluded. So in a chaos, you can still be quiet. So in the center of the storm, in the center of the tornado, the center is quiet. So it's up to you to see for yourself. So if you search here and search there, it gets very restless. So you have to search within.
Do we have any question from the floor?
Okay, I think late already, right?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ng.
Okay. Very.
We shall end the session by sharing merits of our cultivation program. Hope we share merits with all celestial beings. Akasata Chabumata
Deva Naga Mahitika Punyatam Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Loka Sasanam Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahitika Punyam Tam Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Lisanam Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahitika Punyam Tam Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Mam Paramti.
We shall also share merits with our departed ones.
Idam Yatinam Hotu Sukita Hontu Nyatayo Idam Yatinam Hotu Sukita Hontu Nyatayo Idam Yatinam Hotu Sukita Hontu Nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us today. If you wish to revisit today's session, please view the video on our Facebook page at T Saranan SG. Please look out for the topic for the next session on our Facebook page next week. We would also like to share that tomorrow, Sunday, Bhante Chanda Vimala will be giving a talk at 12:30. We welcome all of you to join us for this talk. Stay safe and well. See you again.